Hello, welcome to my channel. If you're here, it's likely because you're ready to get out of the matrix, or at the very least, you're ready to learn how to navigate through it, to learn to harness its power and to use that to your advantage instead of continuing to be taken advantage of. It is likely that you're a person who's become enlightened, full of knowledge that you can't explain or articulate, or maybe you're just someone who wants to buy a house or a car or rent an apartment, but you keep getting turned down by people who don't even know you. Maybe you feel judged and excluded, maybe even a little bit angry because you know in your heart of hearts that it wasn't your fault. Not really, anyway. Yes, if you're on this channel, then it's likely that you too have been an innocent victim of the credit trap, held hostage by rules that no one ever took the time to explain to you and which are deliberately confusing, to say the least. I know, I've been there too. Trapped in a vicious cycle of paying more to get less, of having a name that means nothing to those who control the purse strings, of going from one job interview to the next and not being called back, all because they say your credit is no good, or you're a financial risk, or you've been irresponsible. Well, I'm here today to let you know that there is hope. Regardless of your station in life, your religious leanings, your level of education, or even what type of job you have, if you live in America, you've used credit and generated some level of debt. Now, credit in and of itself is not a problem. In fact, credit can be very useful, particularly if you want access to some big ticket items like houses and cars and things like that. However, when you're using credit to purchase things that you consume, like food and clothing, or to pay your utility bills, then you're destined to find yourself in a financial bind. Unfortunately, ours is a culture that has propped up credit and debt as just normal everyday occurrences and has fostered a new normal that makes absolutely no sense. Riddle me this, Batman. Why does it make sense to pay for an overpriced coffee a month after you've drunk it? Why does it make sense to pay for an overpriced meal 2 months after you've eaten it? Why does it make sense to pay an additional 2, 3, 18, or even 24% extra for that same overpriced coffee or overpriced meal 1, 2, or even 3 months or more after you've consumed it? If someone tried to give you that same meal or that same cup of coffee 1 month after you ordered it, would you still consume it? Do you see where I'm going with this? Do you understand now why I say it's not really your fault? You've been conditioned to believe a lie, and then you were told more lies to keep you in the dark about that lie and every other lie that's been told to you about credit, about debt, and about finances in general. It's my sincere prayer today that I'm able to shed enough light on the lie that you can receive the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth once it's all revealed to you. I tell you this to break up fallow ground so that my words can fall into ears that are willing to hear. So now that I've gotten that piece out of the way, I want to chip away at another part of the lies that you've been told. Indulge me for a moment while I introduce you to John, Hector, and Simon. John and Hector are buddies. They see each other every now and then, and they're friendly with each other. John owns a widget business and seems to be doing pretty well. Hector works a regular job and also seems to be doing okay. One day, Hector decides to ask John about his widgets, and before long, John is convinced Hector that if he owned one of those widgets, that it'll change his life forever. Hector's excited. He can't wait to get one of those widgets from John. He goes home and tells his wife about it. He tells all of his co-workers and friends. He can't hardly sleep or eat thinking about John's widget. Finally, Hector goes over to John's shop to buy one of those widgets. When he gets there, though, he is heartbroken to discover that the widgets cost way more than he can afford to pay for them. Hector's very sad. He thinks about all the people who are waiting to see the terrific changes that this widget is going to bring to his life. His wife will be so disappointed. Hector turns to leave the shop, but before he can go, John stops him. John explains to Hector that the reason he's able to sell so many widgets and make so many people happy is because he's able to sell them his widgets using something called credit. John explains to Hector that all he has to do is write his name and social security number on this sheet of paper with a note that says he promises to pay John a certain amount of money every month on the same date for a certain amount of months, and then he too can be the proud owner of a widget that can change his life. Hector is ecstatic. He can't believe that John is so generous and that he would do something like that for him. The ink in the pen could hardly keep up with Hector's hands as he gleefully completes his application for credit so that he can take his widget home. It's not long before Hector is out the door with his brand new widget. He takes it home, he shows it to everybody, and everybody's so excited. Hector loves his widget, and his life does seem to be better because of it. 1 week later, Hector has no idea where his widget is. His wife has no idea why he bought that stupid thing in the first place. What does it even do? It seemed like it would make their lives better, but so far, that widget hasn't done anything for anyone. 2 weeks later, things are back to normal in Hector's life. He's going to work and life is great. 3 weeks later, Hector gets a letter in the mail. It's from John. Hector opens the letter and he realizes that it's a bill for the widget. Oh no! Why did I buy that thing in the first place, he wonders. The bill says that in 1 week, Hector needs to bring John a certain amount of money by a certain date to pay for the widget. Hector is not happy about it, but he did promise to pay it. A few months go by and Hector continues to pay John for the what was it that Hector bought from John again? Oh yeah, it was a widget. It was supposed to make Hector's life so much better. Okay. One day while he was at work, Hector's boss calls him into the office. Unfortunately, the company is not earning money like it used to, and they're going to have to let some people go. Hector is one of them. He doesn't know what he's going to do. His wife does not work, and the unemployment insurance won't be enough to pay all of his bills. Hector's in a bind. A month goes by, and Hector still has no job. Hector receives his usual letter from John in the mail reminding him that he promised to pay a certain amount of money by a certain day of the month for his widget. But Hector has no money to pay for a widget. He has a family to feed. 3 months later, Hector is still unemployed, and John's letters are becoming more insistent. In fact, they're now coming in different colors like yellow and red and pink. Hector now wishes that he never bought that widget. He has enough problems without the extra added bill for a widget that did make his life better and which he can't even find anymore. Hector begins to ignore John's letters. After 6 months, the letters stop coming and Hector's relieved. He's found another job, but he earns much less than he used to. Meanwhile, John cannot believe that Hector isn't paying for his widget. He signed the note and he promised to pay, but he didn't. Now, despite how many letters he sent to Hector, he just is refusing to pay what he owes. Now, how is John going to balance his books? How will his company be profitable if Hector and any of the other widget buyers don't pay what they owe? What is he going to do? Fortunately for John, his accountant was able to give him the advice that he needed. At the end of 12 months, when it was time to close the books for the year and file his income taxes for his business, John wrote off Hector's bad debt as a loss to his business. He received a credit toward his tax liability for the amount that he lost as a result of Hector's irresponsibility and refusal to pay. John was happy. He was able to zero balance his books because that debt was wiped out when he received a credit for the loss against his business. 1 month later, John met a man named Simon. Simon told John that he knew of a way that John could earn a few dollars more by selling something that he had but didn't need anymore: old debts. Simon told John that he would pay him a few cents on the dollar if John would sell him the list of names of people who had bought widgets and whatnots from him on credit, but then stop paying for them. John didn't quite understand it, but he was happy to be rid of the bad memories as well as to make a few extra dollars, getting rid of something that he neither wanted nor needed anymore. A few days later, Hector received a letter in the mail from Simon saying that Hector could pay him a certain smaller amount of money by a certain date for the widget that he had bought from John all those months ago. Hector felt bad. He knew that he promised to pay John for the widget, but he lost his job and things have been rough. He had way too many other priorities to be concerned with for paying for a widget that he never used and probably didn't even have anymore. Hector threw the letter away. 2 months later, Hector and his wife wanted to move into the new apartments closer to his job, but when they completed the application, they were denied. Hector was confused. He didn't know why they were denied, and he didn't understand what the saleswoman meant when she said that he had bad credit. She gave him a website address that he could go to look it up so that he could understand what had happened. When Hector finally logged onto the credit reporting website, he saw a lot of things that he did not understand, but he was shocked to see that he now owed Simon a certain amount of money and that his account with Simon was in a derogatory state because he was 30 days late making a payment. Hector was really confused now. He didn't remember buying anything from Simon. In fact, he had no idea who Simon was, although he vaguely remembered getting a letter from someone who may have been named Simon about paying for a widget. It was all very distressing. Hector had no idea what to do next, so he and his wife ended up staying in their apartment. And you know what? They never ever found that widget again. The end. Now, why on earth did I just spin all of that yarn for you? It was to give you a quasi real life example of how people get caught up in the credit trap. From the initial sales pitch and slick ads that have you believing that you have just got to have whatever it is that they're selling, all the way down to the misguided, pernicious, and sometimes even illegal debt collection and reporting practices that are perpetrated against us simply because we do not know what our rights are under the law. There are several things that are so wrong in this scenario that I could go on and on about, but instead, I'm going to tell you what Hector can do to begin fighting back and ultimately to protect himself in the future. The first thing Hector has to do is realize that he has a problem. Secondly, he has to recognize that every problem has a solution. I'm going to repeat that because every problem has a solution. Third, he has to make a decision about whether or not he wants to resolve his problem. Next, he has to decide whether the solution is something that he can handle on his own or if he needs to obtain professional help. Since Hector seems to not know the first thing about credit, it's a safe bet that he needs professional help to come to a resolution of his problem. Hector can hire a credit coach like me who understands credit, is familiar with the various credit formulas, and more importantly, knows the laws that govern credit reporting, and debt collection in this country. Once we've established a relationship, i.e. Hector hires me as his credit coach, the very first thing that I would do is assess his current credit and financial situation. I would then have to ascertain from him his short, medium, and long-term goals. Then I would have to ensure that Hector is serious about wanting to arm himself with the tools that he needs in order to go into this war, fight the necessary battles, and come out on the other side with victory. Basically, Hector has to convince me that he is ready, willing, and able to do what I coach him to do in order to rebuild his credit file. Once we have a rapport and Hector has hired me to help him, I'll provide Hector with his first weapon, debt validation. How can Hector be expected to pay a debt to someone who he doesn't know for something that they didn't sell to him? Debt validation is the first step to determining whether an alleged debt is legal or illegal, whether you owe them or they owe you. And I'll get to that in another section. According to federal law, debt validation consists of, among other things, evidence or proof of the alleged debt, including specifically the alleged contract or other instrument bearing the alleged debtor's signature, a complete account history, including any charges added for collection activity, a statement that says unless the consumer, that will be Hector, disputes the debt in writing within 30 days, that debt will be assumed to be valid, and a statement that says upon the consumer's written request within those 30 days that the collector will provide the consumer, again Hector, with the name and address of the original creditor, if it's different from the current creditor. Remember John? I would also insist that the debt collector prove that the statute of limitations is not expired on the alleged debt and prove that they're licensed, bonded, and registered to collect debt in Hector's state of residence. Just those first simple steps will be enough to cause a debt collector to have to put up or shut up. Simon would have to prove that the debt that he is alleging that Hector owes is actually owed and that it's owed to him. Since Hector did not purchase his widget from Simon, and since Hector did not sign a note promising to pay Simon anything, Simon would not be able to validate the debt that he alleges that Hector owes him and would therefore be required by law to cease all collection activities against Hector. That means no more phone calls, no letters, and the immediate removal of his alleged debt against Hector from Hector's credit report. Again, that is only one step of the process. There's so much more to be had, but we'll save that for another time. I guarantee this won't be the last time that you hear about Hector or Simon. Thank you for watching this presentation, and I hope that it's helped you. Remember, you don't have to be an innocent victim anymore. Just like Hector, you can hire me to coach you through this process. You can also join me at a workshop near you, and I'm available to conduct workshops in your area for your group of 10 or more. Just call me. I'm here to help. Be blessed. Stay productive. Peace.